Matt Roloff's heartwarming gesture. Farmhouse. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. For nearly 2 decades, Little People, Big World LPBW has given viewers a front row seat to the Roloff family's triumphs, challenges, and deeply personal moments. At the heart of it all stood Roloff Farms' sprawling property in Hillsboro, Oregon, dotted with pumpkin patches, barns, a medieval castle, and, most importantly, the farmhouse. More than just a home, it was a place where dreams were built, memories were made, and the Roloff legacy took root. Over the years, fans watched Matt Roloff pour his energy, creativity, and passion into transforming the land into something extraordinary. From handcrafting whimsical structures for his children to managing a working farm that attracted visitors from across the country, Matt's life has been defined by this land. But in recent years, the future of the farm and especially the farmhouse has been clouded by uncertainty, family disagreements, and questions of inheritance. That's why his latest act has been described by many as a heartwarming gesture. For a man often portrayed as stubborn, business-minded, and uncompromising, Matt's decision surrounding the farmhouse is one that has touched both his family and longtime LPBW fans. It represents not only his love for his children and grandchildren, but also his desire to preserve the heart of the Roloff story. In this article, we'll dive deep into Matt Roloff's farmhouse gesture, exploring its meaning, the reactions it sparked, and why it may be one of the most touching chapters in Roloff family history. To understand the significance of the farmhouse, one must go back to the beginning of the Roloff story. When Matt and Amy Roloff first purchased the farm in 1990, they saw more than just acreage and a fixer-upper home. They saw a dream. For Matt, who has always had a knack for thinking big and building bigger, the property was a blank canvas. For Amy, it was a place where their children could grow up with freedom, adventure, and a strong sense of family. The Roloffs were not your typical family, and TLC recognized that early on. Both Matt and Amy were born with dwarfism, and 3 of their 4 children, Jeremy, Zach, Molly, and Jacob, were of average height. Zach, like his father, was born with achondroplasia, while his siblings were not. This dynamic brought unique challenges and perspectives, which soon made them relatable to millions of viewers. When Little People, Big World premiered in 2006, the farmhouse became the visual and emotional centerpiece of the show. It wasn't just a backdrop, it was a character in its own right. Every family dinner, birthday party, holiday celebration, and heated argument seemed to take place within its walls. Fans grew attached to the big white house, with its rustic charm and cozy warmth. Through the years, the farmhouse symbolized the Roloff's values of hard work, perseverance, and togetherness. Amy was often seen cooking meals for the kids in the kitchen, while Matt was outside designing elaborate new attractions for pumpkin season. The children played in the yard, climbed trees, and built lifelong memories. For fans, it became a familiar and comforting sight, almost like a second home. Yet as the kids grew older, married, and started families of their own, the once bustling farmhouse grew quieter. Questions of who would inherit the farm and whether it would remain in the Roloff family sparked tensions that spilled onto the show. Some of the Roloff children, particularly Zach and Jeremy, expressed interest in taking over the property, but negotiations with Matt fell apart. Fans watched as those conversations turned sour, leading to public disagreements and hurt feelings. Amidst all of this, the farmhouse stood silently, a reminder of both the good times and the unresolved conflicts. Its fate hung in the balance: would it be sold, rented out, or left behind as the Roloffs moved on. From the very beginning, Matt Roloff has been more than just a farmer. He has always seen himself as a dreamer and builder, a man who could take a simple idea and turn it into something magical. The farmhouse was no exception. When he and Amy moved into the property, the house was modest and in need of work. But in Matt's mind, it wasn't just a structure, it was the foundation of a legacy. He envisioned not only a home where his children would grow up, but also a place that could withstand the test of time, a farmhouse that would be at the center of family history for generations to come. Over the years, Matt's vision expanded far beyond 4 walls and a roof. He poured energy into designing attractions around the farm that would eventually make Roloff farms famous: the pirate ship, the medieval castle, the pumpkin patch, and winding trails through the woods. But no matter how many projects he took on, the farmhouse always remained the beating heart of the property. Matt often spoke about how the house represented stability. While he was constantly dreaming up new additions, building towers and bridges, and reinventing the farm experience, the farmhouse grounded him. It was a place of routine, warmth, and comfort, even if that comfort sometimes came with its share of family disagreements. But as the years passed, Matt faced new challenges. His marriage to Amy ended in 2016, and with the divorce came difficult conversations about the future of the farm. Amy eventually sold her portion of the property to Matt, a move that symbolized the end of an era. For many fans, it felt like the farmhouse itself carried the weight of that separation. Still, Matt's vision never wavered. He knew the farmhouse wasn't just about him, it was about the Roloffs as a whole. And he understood that even though the children had chosen different paths, the house still held the power to bring them together. What made Matt's vision remarkable was that he didn't see the farmhouse purely as real estate or business property. He saw it as a legacy of love and resilience. His dream was not just to keep it standing, but to transform it into something that future generations could cherish, a place where his grandchildren could run through the halls just as their parents once did. So, what exactly was the heartwarming gesture that captured the attention of fans and family alike? According to those closest to him, Matt made the decision to preserve and dedicate the farmhouse as a family gathering place. A move that surprised many who expected him to sell or rent it out as an investment. Instead of treating it as a business transaction, Matt chose to see it as a gift of love and continuity. This decision was not made lightly. For years, speculation swirled about whether Matt would eventually put the farmhouse on the market. Real estate experts even estimated that the property could fetch millions, given its size, location, and fame from being featured on television. But Matt knew that selling it would mean closing a chapter of Roloff history in a way that felt too final. By keeping the farmhouse within the family, Matt ensured that it remained a symbol of connection, no matter where life took his children. Whether it was hosting holidays, birthday parties, or quiet visits with grandchildren, the farmhouse could continue to serve its purpose as the Roloff family anchor. For fans, this was heartwarming because it showed a side of Matt that wasn't about business deals or television drama. It was about legacy. It was about family. It was about putting love ahead of money, even if the financial gains of selling might have been tempting. The farmhouse gesture also came with personal touches. Matt reportedly began restoring certain rooms to reflect the family's history, preserving mementos, photographs, and even furniture from the children's younger years. Rather than modernizing everything, he wanted the house to tell the story of the Roloffs, so that when the next generation walked in, they would feel connected to their. No decision on Roloff farms has ever come without strong emotions, and Matt's farmhouse gesture was no exception. The Roloff family's reactions revealed just how deeply connected each member still feels to the property, despite the conflicts and changes over the years. Amy Roloff's response. For Amy, the farmhouse was once the center of her world. She raised her children within its walls, cooked countless meals in its kitchen, and hosted nearly every family milestone in its living room. Letting go of the farmhouse after her divorce was one of the most difficult choices she ever made. When she learned about Matt's gesture to preserve the farmhouse for family use, Amy reportedly felt a of emotions. On one hand, there was relief that the place she had poured her heart into wouldn't be sold off to strangers. On the other, there was a bittersweet pang, knowing that while she no longer lived there, her memories would remain tied to its rooms forever. Amy acknowledged publicly that the farmhouse was special not just for her children but for her grandchildren, too. And in that sense, Matt's decision warmed her heart. Zach and Tori's feelings. Zach, who once hoped to purchase part of Roloff Farms himself, had one of the most complicated reactions. Negotiations with Matt about buying the property had ended badly, creating a rift that fans saw play out on Little People, Big World. For a long time, Zach expressed disappointment and frustration that his father's vision for the farm didn't align with his own. But the farmhouse gesture seemed to soften some of those wounds. While Zach may not own the property, knowing that his children Jackson, Lila, and Josiah could still make memories there gave him comfort. Tori, too, spoke about how special it was that her kids could experience holidays and family gatherings in the same place where Zach grew up. Jeremy and Audrey's perspective. Jeremy, like Zach, once showed interest in taking over the farm. He and his wife Audrey even made offers, but ultimately, things didn't work out. Jeremy moved on to start his own ventures, yet he never stopped expressing love for the farm where he was raised. For Jeremy, Matt's decision to preserve the farmhouse was deeply meaningful. He saw it as a way for his children Ember, Bode, and Radledo still be connected to their heritage. Audrey echoed those feelings, pointing out that while family dynamics may be complicated, the farmhouse could serve as common ground. Molly and Joel's reaction. Molly, the most private of the Roloff siblings, lives in Washington with her husband Joel. Though she stays out of the spotlight, family insiders say she has always cherished her childhood memories on the farm. For her, Matt's farmhouse gesture symbolized stability. She may not visit often, but knowing the farmhouse was still there gave her a sense of peace. Jacob and Isabel's take. The youngest Roloff sibling, Jacob, has been outspoken about distancing himself from the show and much of its drama. Still, he has maintained a strong bond with his father, often helping him with farm work. Jacob and his wife, Isabel, seemed especially touched by the farmhouse decision. They believed it was a statement about continuity that no matter how fractured relationships might seem at times, the farmhouse would always unite them. Chris Merrick and Karen Chandler. Even Amy's husband, Chris, and Matt's partner, Karen, weighed in. Chris, though an outsider to the family's history, admitted he understood why the farmhouse held so much importance. Karen, who has often been caught in the middle of fan speculation and family drama, supported Matt's gesture, noting that it showed his deep love for his children. The farmhouse has always been more than just walls, windows, and a roof. For the Roloffs, it represents family identity, and for fans, it represents the heart of the show. To the children, the farmhouse is where childhood memories live on, the place where scraped knees were bandaged, birthdays were celebrated, and bedtime stories were told. For Amy, it symbolizes motherhood, resilience, and sacrifice. For Matt, it has become a testament to dreams realized, battles fought, and a vision carried through. By choosing to preserve it, Matt transformed the farmhouse into a symbol of healing. In a family that has seen its fair share of public disagreements, this gesture served as a reminder that love ultimately outweighs conflict. The farmhouse also carries generational meaning. It bridges the gap between the past and the future. When Matt's grandchildren visit, they aren't just walking into a house theory, stepping into a story that began long before they were born. Every photograph on the wall, every worn step in the staircase, and every tree outside tells part of the Roloff legacy. For all its charm and symbolism, the farmhouse has also been at the center of some of the biggest struggles in Roloff family history. Matt Roloff's gesture to preserve it cannot be fully appreciated without acknowledging the obstacles that nearly tore the family apart. The divorce and ownership disputes. When Matt and Amy divorced in 2016, the farm became one of the biggest sticking points. Amy had lived in the farmhouse for decades and felt deeply attached to it. At the same time, Matt wanted full ownership so that he could continue building and shaping Roloff Farms into his long-term vision. The negotiations were messy, emotional, and at times bitter. In the end, Amy agreed to sell her portion of the property to Matt, moving into her own house nearby. Fans who had grown up watching the family in the farmhouse were heartbroken to see Amy pack her belongings and walk away. For Amy, it wasn't just leaving a house site, it was leaving behind a lifetime of love, laughter, and sacrifice. The failed succession plan. The next wave of challenges came when the children expressed interest in buying the farm. Zach and Jeremy, in particular, hoped to take over the property and raise their families there. But negotiations between Matt and his sons fell apart quickly. Matt, ever the businessman, believed his asking price reflected the true value of the farm. His sons, however, felt that he was treating them like outsiders rather than family. The tension boiled over into public comments and hurt feelings. On Little People, Big World, viewers saw Zach express disappointment and anger, admitting that his father's approach had damaged their relationship. Jeremy, too, walked away, choosing instead to purchase his own property elsewhere. Fans accused Matt of being greedy, while others defended his right to make tough financial decisions. The farmhouse sat at the heart of these arguments. Would it remain in the family? Would it be sold? Each unanswered question deepened the family's wounds. Financial and emotional pressure. Beyond family conflict, Matt also faced the practical challenges of maintaining the farmhouse and farm. Running Roloff farms required money, time, and energy. The costs of upkeep, taxes, and renovations often weighed heavily on him. At times, he admitted he considered selling the entire property just to gain peace of mind. Emotionally, the farmhouse was also a heavy burden. Every corner of the house reminded him of the past: his marriage, his children's younger days, the simpler times before fame and conflict. For Matt, walking through those hallways sometimes meant reliving painful chapters as well as joyful ones. Why the gesture matters even more. It's against this backdrop of tension, broken deals, and emotional strain that Matt's farmhouse gesture shines even brighter. By choosing not to sell or convert it into a business venture, Matt essentially said, "The farmhouse isn't about money. It's about family." This was not an easy decision for a man often guided by practicality and vision. But in making it, Matt acknowledged the deeper meaning of the property, not just for him, but for Amy, for his children, and for future generations. Matt Roloff's gesture isn't just about one farmhouse. It's about the values that the Roloff family has come to represent for millions of fans. Since 2006, Little People, Big World has been more than a reality show. It has been a story about perseverance, love, and family unity despite differences. Fans who have followed the Roloffs for nearly 20 years often say they feel like part of the family themselves. They've celebrated births, mourned losses, and even cried over disagreements. The farmhouse, in many ways, is the symbol of that shared journey. When Matt decided to preserve it, he gave not only his children but also fans a sense of comfort. It was a reminder that despite divorce, disputes, and change, some things remain constant. The bigger picture is about legacy. Matt, now in his 60s, knows that he won't be around forever. His farmhouse gesture ensures that his grandchildren will have a tangible link to their roots. It also reflects a universal truth. At the end of the day, family and memories matter far more than money or fame. Fans online have echoed this sentiment. Social media posts and forums lit up with praise for Matt, with many calling it his most touching act in years. Some even admitted that while they had been critical of him in the past, this gesture restored their respect. For longtime viewers, the farmhouse decision wasn't just Matt's gift to his family, it was a gift to everyone who has been part of the LPBW journey. When Matt Roloff first set foot on Roloff Farms more than 3 decades ago, he saw potential where others might have seen only a rundown property. He dreamed of building not just a farm, but a home filled with joy, adventure, and opportunity. Over the years, he realized that dream, transforming the land into a place of wonder for his children and a source of inspiration for millions of viewers. But as the years passed, the challenges mounted. Divorce, disagreements, financial stress, and the realities of aging all cast shadows on the future of Roloff Farms. At the center of it all stood the farmhouse, silent but ever present, a witness to every triumph and every tear. That's what makes Matt's farmhouse gesture so profound. In choosing to preserve it for his family, he wasn't just making a decision about property, he was making a statement about what truly matters in life. He reminded his children that no matter the fights, the misunderstandings, or the years that pass, there will always be a place for them to come together. He reminded Amy that her sacrifices and memories will never be erased. And he reminded fans that love and legacy are far more enduring than money or fame. For Zach and Tori, it means their children can run down the same hallways Zach once did. For Jeremy and Audrey, it means their kids can visit and feel tied to the family's roots. For Molly and Jacob, it means that no matter how far they wander, they always have a piece of home waiting for them. And for Matt, it means peace. After years of conflict and scrutiny, he has chosen a path that prioritizes love over business, family over profit, and healing over division. The farmhouse will stand not only as a building, but as a living symbol of the Roloff legacy. It tells a story of resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of family ties. And long after the cameras stop rolling, that story will continue, echoed in every laughter-filled holiday gathering, every quiet conversation on the porch, and every child's footsteps across the farmhouse floor.